All right, here we are, the episode 37 of the Everyday Bowhunter podcast. Once again, I'm Mike Manley here with my brother Dan Zemer. It's been a while, but we are rocking. Things have been kind of crazy around my house just because I've been doing almost too many projects. I'm kind of got myself running thin with projects.
You know what they call that? I actually can't say it on camera, but a cluster
Yeah.
duck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it is. But the one good thing that I have been able to do, Dan, that like we talk about every year with preparing for the season, is shooting your bow.
Yeah.
And I shot my bow almost 2 weeks ago now, and I still shoot it a little bit every day, try to shoot a little bit. But I shot probably 150 times. And I totally destroyed my shoulder doing it, being dumb.
That'll do it.
But so I had shot closing in about 100 shots, give or take, right? And it wasn't really counting. And so I had that hinge release from Timu. And I said, you know what? I'm here. I got the target in front of me. I got a good backstop.
Yeah.
Who cares what happens? Let's see what happens here with this hinge release. So, boom, I'm instantly in the freaking 10 ring. And I'm like, wow, that was fast. And another, I'm stacking. Then what do? I Robin Hood an arrow.
But you showed it. I mean, it went all the way in. That's crazy.
It's laying over here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I Robin Hood an arrow, and I'm like, this thing is awesome. And it's a locking hinge release. It's not a tension release.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
You basically you put the hinge on the D loop, you lock it, and then pull it back just like your
normal thumb release. Yeah.
Thumb release, and then hit it with your thumb.
Yeah.
And it just flies out of there. And I mean, I can't even explain how fast it comes out. It just happens like that, and it's such a difference that I went through 3 different releases over here that I have into this hinge, and now I don't know if I can
go back
shoot without a hinge release now because it's that good.
So is it true that it kind of like surprises you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As soon as it's I can be kind of swaying and I'm in the black of the target or whatever, and if I just hit it in the black, it really. Now we talk about target panic, right? And so even if you kind of have a little bit of that reaction, where you're not following through good or whatever, and you're kind of looking over your bow to see where you hit on the target, which I do a lot, and I'm trying to fight myself with it. This didn't alleviate it 100%, but it did a massive, incredible job of doing that and alleviating that little bit of target panic. And it made me actually go watch a couple videos on target panic, and a lot of people are using these type of releases
to help with
target panic.
Right.
I was watching a guy giving classes on it, and he's making people hold on target, and he's using an arrow to sit there and tap on their bowstring while they have it full draw, making them stay there with it, stay with it, and then shoot. And I thought that's pretty good. And when we talk about target panic, we just talk about anticipation. You're anticipating your shot, and you're reacting to the bow before the shot's even launched, or right. That follow-through period, I think that outside of hand torque, making sure you have that grip solid, right? And of course, having all your stuff leveled out and everything. But in your whole shot sequence, when you get the follow-through, Dan's going to sneeze.
Damn it. 'Tis the season.
Yeah. When you get the follow-through, if you don't maintain that perfect follow-through on your shot, if you move right when you're shooting, you're going to jerk that arrow. And it's going to be amplified the longer the distances are. You might get away with it constantly at short distance. Might get away with it at 20 yards. You might say, I'm hitting left every now and then. I'm hitting left. And you're hitting left a lot generally. That's probably it. So you can jerk either way, really. So, but the whole point is that this hinge release really, really surprised by how good it is, and have really been happy with the results of it. And what ended up making me shoot like 50 more arrows. And I was out to 40 yards drilling it and really seeing the difference. I'll tell you what I saw a difference on, Dan, before I talk about how that destroyed my shoulder, and I'm still in pain from it. I took two sets of arrows. I have those old ZMRs from Method Archery,
And then
that was Vector Custom Shop, and then the Victories. Right, both of those arrows are between the way I have them set up right now.
The VAP TKOs.
The yes, VAP, the VAP TKO Elites. Right, and they're with the way I have broadheads on them now. I have a 150 on one of them, and a 125 on the other. And it brings, one's 460 grains and one's 480 grains. So they're very close in that regard, right? But then I have two arrows. I have those old Sirius Apollos over here, right? And I have the Easton FMJs. And both of those are over 500 grains. Well, once I went out to, I initially went to 35 yards. The drop from 25 yards, I'm still drilling it with all the arrows are right in there. They're doing great with my sight, which I really want, is that I want a 25 yard zero, right? So the way I do my bracketing, right, with my sight, and they were drilling it at 25. But as soon as they went to 35, the drop in difference between the two sets of arrows, just from the 480, you think even with the VAP TKO is 480, to the 505 with the FMJ, right? And then the Sirius Apollos are 530. Here I'm pointing at you.
I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Punch you in the face. But from 505 to 530, both of those arrows dropped significantly on me, while the TKO, VAP TKOs, and the ZMRs, especially the ZMRs at that lighter weight, were still drilling it really only about 2 inches down at 35, and I was like, this is where I want to be. But I was really impressed with those other arrows and thinking, and I had said to you, Dan, I think with the FMJs, the aluminum, I'm shooting this one target in here that is a hard target, right? It's meant to withstand crossbow arrows, right? It's a crossbow target, and I wanted a tough target that would last me a while, right? And I'm shooting those FMJs into it, and it's so hard that at short distances I'm shooting, when I was shooting it at 10 and 15 yards, it bent the arrow, right? Because of the aluminum.
Wow.
And I'm saying to myself, these arrows are horrible. Oh, I hate these. Well, I got this new Bulldog target that's a very soft interior target and can withstand that kind of stuff too. And I'm out here shooting there up at camp, and I'm like, these FMJs are flying like beasts.
They're awesome.
And I'm really, really inclined to use them during the season as my primary arrows and say, I'm only going to go out to 25, 30 yards, which I always say anyway.
Right.
30 yards, because at 30 yards, they are still banging. I only have to adjust like 2 to 3 inches probably. And that's how flat they were flying out of that bow. I'm really impressed with the PSE decree and how it's working out for me, even at the lower draw weight that I have on it. And the arrows they just come out differently.
Yeah.
In fact, when I would pick up it's pretty bad when you say your 460 grain and 480 grain arrows feel light to you, and the other ones are,
it's a little perspective.
Yeah. And the other ones are like, oh, these are real arrows here, and they do feel it. It is such a difference though, with just how they hit, and they're hitting, and it's just that whack when they're hitting that hard hit.
Yeah.
And with them being 505 grains, I'm thinking that is at the top end of where I want to be. But at 30 yards, they are killing it. So I was really excited about that.
So I got to get my CBE Trek hybrid 3-pin slider sighted in. I struggled a little bit at first, and actually had to throw in a YouTube video and watch it, and to get it, like how to get the tape on, how to get that part of it done. Took me a little bit. Once I got it set up to where I could start my 20 and got 20 dialed in, then 30 and then 40, then it kind of went from there. And then next thing you know, you jump back and you get 60. Okay. So I get 60 sighted in, and I'm like, I just got to test this theory.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get the rangefinder out and I move back to 80 yards. I'm not even going to lie to you. With my eyes the way they are, I could barely even see the target.
Mm-hmm.
So was it pure luck? No, because I did it twice, but let it fly. Now, at this point, I didn't have my binoculars with me. Rangefinder, I couldn't see detail that far. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't even know where I hit. I know I hit. I could hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to fling another one. And I did. And I literally had 2 arrows that far apart from each other. And it was literally, if here's bullseye, they were right here. At 80 yards. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Wow.
I was like,
that's the difference between a good sight and a bad sight.
that. And, you know, moving on to this is my first bow with the third axis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I took it into Extreme Archery. Nate, as always, was awesome. Pretty much told me I got my first adult sight, for lack of a better term. Said, "Oh, I see your balls drop finally." So, but yeah, he got me all dialed in. He actually made a couple adjustments to my bow that, it was to my rest. There was a little bit of lag in it, and
that's not good.
Right. And he was like, "Hey, I just adjusted that," and boy, what a difference. Okay, so I get this thing all dialed in, and I'm telling you, 20, I cannot shoot the same spot. 30, I cannot shoot the same spot. 40, I cannot shoot the same spot.
That's awesome.
And what was really cool is I was like, I got to play with the ability to do the off yardage. Okay, so clocked myself in at 37, took my tape to 37, dead center bulls. It's truly amazing.
That's awesome.
I am absolutely pumped. Absolutely pumped.
Now, if you don't know what Dan's talking about here, this is something that came up
The third axis?
with this. So when it comes to bow sights, there's cheap bow sights, and then there's bow sights that allow you to truly zero them to perfectly to your bow. And so what he's talking about is with every sight you put on your bow, you have a first, second, and third axis, right? And that's basically the leveling. The leveling of your sight to your bow is your first axis, right? Your second axis is that where your sight moves to the left and right, basically up or down. Let's say it's up or down.
Up or down.
Up or down, basically. And how that, if you ever look through your sight and it looks like it's a little crooked, that's off, right? So you want to make sure your string is your baseline for the level. And I did a video on this that's going to be coming out here soon. And so you got the level on your string and then level on the sight itself, right? Which can be hard sometimes to get these levels on your sight. And then that's your second axis. And like my Apex Covert Pro sight that I have over here, it says that it's factory set for the first axis.
Right.
It's relying on the holes that are drilled on the bow and everything that's good. And luckily for me, it is good. But then it allows me to do second and third axis.
Right.
So your third axis then is the tricky one.
That's technically where you put your bow facing down, and it's your housing. You're getting that level.
Now you're talking about your housing going away from you or coming towards you. It's
Right.
that perfect level that it's not. So if you got a cheap sight and you can't move that housing,
Right.
so you could, and you're wondering why you constantly hit off, from when you're up in a tree stand or something.
It's
your sight.
your third axis is more for your angled shots, your elevated shots, or shooting uphill at some.
So you look down through your sight, and as you look down through your sight, and you always do that eye check on your level to make sure your bow's level, right? And if you're not doing that, you need to do that. And you look and do a quick touch on your level, and you might think it's level, but it's not. So you can basically take like a regular, carpenter level that has all the multiple different levels in it, put it straight up and down against the doorway.
Check plumb.
Make sure it's plumb and that it's perfectly, your doorway, your molding on it or whatever,
Right.
is perfectly level up and down, right? As you look at it. Then put your sight on it down to the bottom of it. Point down, 45-degree angle, point down, and then line your sight up perfectly straight on. If you have a single pin, make sure that single pin's lined up perfectly straight on it, and then look at your level bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's off, you need to adjust that to meet that. And you can do the same thing up, 45-degree angle up, but it has to be pointing at something level. If you have multi-pin sight, line the tips of all those pins up right where they need to be hitting the target.
Mm-hmm.
Line them up on that same point, a level point, have it perfectly lined up, straight up and down, and then look at your level bubble and see if it's not lined up, you're going to be jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of these, and I pulled out an old IQ sight that I had
Right.
from years ago, and I put it on my Bear Alaskan I have over here to check this out and to see how bad it was. And man, is it terrible.
It's off. Yeah.
Right. So you take a sight out of the package, you bolt it onto your bow, you think everything's good to go. Wrong.
Yeah.
Level bubble is not necessarily level. And especially when you're talking about second and third axis. And that sight, checking it, is off on both the second and third axis, and it doesn't have a setting. Now, what you can do when you're looking to buy a bow, if it doesn't say it in the description,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and, email the company or whatever, contact somebody and ask them. But more often than not, like I said, did my Covert Pro site even say that? I was like, I know, I thought it did. And I went back to the listing and it did say second and third axis.
Right.
only.
Right.
So it is very important. So if you're looking at that, you're saying, what the hell are they talking about? First, second, and third axis. That's what they're talking
Yeah. I literally, the reason I got this one. So back when I had that Trophy Ridge React Pro,
about. That would have it.
It had it. And I didn't know about it. The third axis. You know what I mean? I literally slapped that sight on and just made it happen. And it was kind of the best I had shot up to that point. And then I got that, I sold it to Musser. And I got that other Trophy Ridge with not pins sticking out like this, but it was stack pins,
Mhm.
What do they call that? Vertical pins.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try that. I kind of didn't really like it. I'm not going to lie. So that's why I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try this CBE. Heard great things about it. But again, it had that hybrid slider. So it's a 3-pin, but it also, your middle pin, your 30 pin, so it's green, red, green.
Mhm.
Your 30 pin becomes your slider.
Oh, okay.
So you have like a dead stop to it. So boom, you turn it, a deer could be coming, you turn that, it comes to a stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have your 20, 30, 40. That's all you should need, hypothetically. But why I got the slider part of it is because I wanted to have 37 yards or 28 yards. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be able to get that. But also, if we go to, what do they call that? Total Archery Challenge, TAC. If we go do something like that and they have, 70, 80 yard shot or this or that, I wanted to be able to do it. So at any rate, having the ability to have that slider.
They have like 100-yard shots on that.
They do.
Yeah.
Right. And after doing the double 80s, I know I can do it. I have no qualms about it.
I just don't know how many arrows I want to lose.
Right. I kind of have confidence in it now. I'll tell you what,
it is a confidence thing.
It boosted my confidence. I walked away from there and I was peacocking. Unfortunately, nobody was around. I was chest beating.
Well, with my eyes, I couldn't do it.
There was some effing right donkey going on. There was like I was all pumped up, man. I was so ecstatic.
I was just happy I was shooting out the 40 because of that hinge release. It just made such a difference. It does a confidence.
Confidence, yeah.
And here's the thing, Dan. I didn't I had that Apex Covert Pro, and it basically looks like a reticle on a scope.
Yeah, crosshairs. Shit.
Crosshairs, yeah. And that has a 40 built into it, right? Has a 30 and 40 built into it. Has the 30 is just a line, and then there's a dot for
40.
For 40.
Right.
So once you zero at 20, hypothetically, and this is hypothetically, that dot is there for you because you can't move the dot, right?
Yeah.
Can't move it.
So it's a zone.
So it's right, but I've shot it and I've hit, so it is generally good. But with the way I shoot, I generally I raise up or I lower.
Right.
right in bracket. So I'm not
Like-
I'm not changing, even though I have the capability on my
Yeah.
site to change the yardage. I don't even have the yardage tapes on.
So for me, it's like, okay, so a spot that I pick out. Let's say I had a trail camera out and I know exactly where they're coming through, right?
Mhm.
But where I have to sit, because I'm hunting off the ground, and this is the only place that I have as an ambush spot or have that coverage where I'm really secluded, right? But it's 32 yards or 33, let's call it.
Mhm.
You know, now I'm in between like the 30 and 40, but like I didn't want to play the guessing game. I can literally get it set at 33 or whatever it is, 34 yards.
That's perfect.
I can get it set to that. I know they're going to come through at that point, and it's going to be dead nuts. That's what I wanted.
That's
you,
great.
You see the game
Oh
I'm
yeah,
playing?
that's no. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'll tell you what, like the difference in a site like this versus your average site, there's a lot of complicated stuff to it. But once you get past that the math of it, and you start dialing in, I haven't been this confident. Like, I'm a pretty good shot, but I haven't been this confident in a while.
Now I have to say, if you're pricing sites right, and if you go in the $100 range, very rarely, and it's crazy how much these things cost now.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But
But eBay is your friend for this, definitely.
yeah, I got a hell of a deal on it.
So the CB site he's talking about is generally around in that $200 range,
Yeah, 2+, yeah.
right? And my site I have over here, the Apex Covert Pro, is in that $200 range, give or take, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, when you go from there to the next tier of sites like your Excels,
Right.
I can't think of it, your Ultra Views.
The Ultra $700 site.
You're
Yeah.
talking about ridiculous amount. And I was watching Chris B.
Mhm.
He put on an Excel landslide slider on his bow, and he put an Ultra View scope on it.
Yeah.
Because you can mount that on
Right.
there.
You can. Yeah.
And I would love to do that, but I don't have that kind of play around cash to throw. You can get that Ultra View scope for like
He's
$250, but he's getting that stuff for free.
he's bought into Ultra View. He's one of the owners.
Is he really?
Yeah. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah.
But it's-
there you go.
But it's really nice.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I actually saw MFJJ talking about him. He's like, not a lot of people have the money for this. He's like, but the way it slides, he's like, it's a flawless site.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it's an absolutely incredible site. It's worth every penny if you're that guy,
Yeah.
So
But if you already, you spent $1,200 on a bow, now your site costs $6. But
if you
like
got
I
the
said,
money, do it.
if you're talking mid tier, like what did you you want to even divulge how much you end up paying for that CB?
$134.99.
So that is, you can find on eBay these sites at this price. Like I got a military discount on the site I have. I
Right.
paid just like $120 for it. Kind of
Yep,
in the
yep.
same range. I don't remember anymore, but it was in that kind of range. So
I play the eBay game.
yes, eBay for
you
archery stuff.
You got to
is
be
great.
patient and play the game.
Yep,
That's-
eBay for archery stuff, especially right after Christmas, is great.
And I've said this on prior podcasts. I do not will not pay full price for anything.
No,
I am as cheap as they come when I like to call it thrifty. Like I know how to manipulate eBay and play the game. And if you can do that, then you're going to make out like the drop away rest, the QAD. I got one for like 35 or 40 bucks a couple years back when it was 110. It was the XL HD,
Mhm.
like not XL, whatever. At that time, top model.
well, Lancaster Archery sold me that one that was a $300 QAD and gave me 50% off.
Right,
So
right.
that was incredible.
It's
Yeah.
if you're thrifty and you could play the game and be patient, which in the real world I'm extremely impatient. I'm one of the most impatient people you ever meet. But when it comes to spending money, that's where the game is to be played. You could find some really good deals out
Yeah,
there on
stay
some great
stay
equipment.
tuned for that video because it's gonna make you say to yourself, if you haven't done it, especially if you're a beginner and you have no clue about any of this stuff, you're gonna say to yourself, wow, this is why I've been constantly left and I think my site's jacked up. And
Yeah.
it's not that my site's jacked up, and if you had the ability to adjust it, and you can adjust it and fix it, or your site's cheap and you're never going to fix it, because you can put certain sites on different bows and they're just not going to line up the way you want to, because sometimes those holes are not drilled perfectly or whatever on the bows. They, as much as they, your more expensive bows. I checked out 3 bows here. I had a, um, basically a $500 a Bear Alaskan sitting over
Mhm.
here, Matthews lift,
Yeah.
uh, and the PSE decree, and they were all level on the first axis.
Right.
So perfect with the just putting the sight on. So
Nate said something to me while I was there, right? So he's doing it, and I was like, yeah. I was like, for like $40 more, I could have gotten the dovetail version, but it mounts to the normal mounts.
Mhm.
It's like an exterior dovetail slide.
Yeah, yeah.
So
mine will do both. Yeah, that sight that I have will do
Right.
that, or it'll do like the Matthews bridge lock.
So I was like, yeah, I just didn't, I guess I don't know enough about it, blah, blah, blah. So I just got the standard one. He goes, you made the right choice. And I was like, well, what's your logic behind that? He's like, with dovetail, he's like, okay, so now you're mounting it to the bow, right?
Mhm.
The bracket. Now you have the dovetail.
Mhm.
He's like, so now you have 2 points that could loosen up on you. He's like, versus you have 2 bolts in, it should stay, but you know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah.
there's just more that can go wrong in
And
that
I have
scenario,
been-
unless the bow has a built-in dovetail system, like the lift, 29, whatever,
Yeah.
and a half, that has the built-in dovetail.
Mhm.
A lot of them are doing that now.
Mhm.
He's like, the biggest thing now is the Picatinny rail. He's like, that is like the latest and the greatest.
And you know what? And the thing is,
And your bow has that new one.
I have Picatinny rail, but I dealt with Picatinny rails for years in the Army, right?
Yeah.
And that's on a flat surface on the top of your rifle. Of course, when you're shooting your rifle,
Right.
you have vibration. Same thing with your bow. Every time you shoot that bow, there's a lot of vibration pushing through there.
Yeah.
And I had many an item loosen up on me off of that Picatinny rail over the years. If you have a M4 or something, or you've been in the military, you know what I'm talking about. You have the ones that clamp on, right? If you have, and I haven't used the Picatinny rail bow sight yet, so I don't even know how they.
Right.
But if you have the ones that clamp onto the Picatinny rail, it will stay on there solid as a rock. If you have the ones where you are tightening Allen wrenches, screws in there,
Yeah.
and it has things that go over,
Yeah.
Little clips that go over the rail, it's going to loosen up on you and jack up.
My AR, that was happening all the time. I didn't get the clamp. I got that exact scenario happened to me. Like,
That's why if I get a Picatinny rail sight, it has to have a locking arm on there to lock it to the rail.
Yeah.
It won't move, and when they are like that, they're solid as a rock. But if you have to just mess with stuff to get it on there and tighten it down, it will.
I guess in your scenario, when your life depends on it,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I would constantly be tightening my stuff up and everything. I actually was on a mission once, and my laser on the side of my gun, it's called a PEQ2, fell off and was hanging. It only stayed on my gun because I had the push button finger activated wire to turn
So it
the
was like
laser
a
on.
cable by
The
wire.
was
Yeah.
taped on,
Yeah.
I had it taped onto my rifle like crazy, and that's the only reason I didn't lose it. And that's why I'm very suspect of the Picatinny rail until I see
Fair
how
enough.
they are locking on there.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Because a bow vibrates just like a rifle does.
Just at a different level,
Yes,
and that's like a smaller Picatinny versus like a bigger one.
This thing's only probably 2 inches.
No, I mean the rail itself. It's like a different size, not like your M4 rail. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's a different, different size. Yeah.
It's still Picatinny style. It's just a smaller.
But, I mean, there's 2 sides of that. You have to make sure that Picatinny rail's cranked down on your bow.
Right.
And
it's kind of like what Nate was saying to me. Yeah.
And it made me want to, with my second and third axis, as much as I kept on, the third axis set up on my sight is as soon as I tighten it, sometimes it wants to move the sight with the tightening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Right. And I'm like, I just need to throw some Loctite in here and leave it. And then I'll end up dropping the bow, bang, needing to move it. And draw Loctite out.
That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
I
did it last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen.
So.
Every good, bad, ugly, beautiful archer, whatever, is going to go through that. It's just, it happens, the beating up of your bow.
And I actually, the leveling system that I got, because a lot of people will tell you to do this first, second, and third axis.
Yeah.
They'll advertise the Hamsky. Hamsky has like this perfect third axis level, right?
Right.
And it's supposed to be the bee's knees. Well, it's $80 for this, for a level. Well, I got this little kit off Amazon for $17
Mhm.
and it's done the job.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So if you're saying that if I want to do this stuff at home, and there's field expedient ways to do the whole deal, which I was doing for years, just leaning my bow against the wall, making sure it's level, you know, and then using line levels on my bowstring and stuff, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
having an arrow in and having a level on
Yeah.
the arrow, and stuff. But now I just said the heck with it, and I got the full kit and caboodle to make sure that I'm doing it right because I didn't want to do a video half-ass. So
Do you want to talk about the great debate of the smell of the camera?
okay, so moving on, getting away from sights and getting into some cell camera scouting stuff. So the other day, 2 days ago actually, I have a doe. I have a camera on a tree, a Moultrie Edge, regular Edge camera, not a Pro, and not even a 2, just a regular Edge. And it's on a tree at about 3 feet, which is about where you want a trail camera if it's secure. That being said, the doe, and this camera's now been on this tree for, I don't know, a month and a half, something like that. And the doe comes up to the camera, nose at it, sniffing all around it, and then something about the camera scares her. She jumps back and she runs around standing there and she's looking back at the camera, trying to figure it out. So this Dan and I and Buddy Jevin and stuff are talking about, debating about
What is it?
what is it? Is it a smell? Because they can smell, on the molecular level.
Like the parts per million
Yeah.
is way greater than
Yes.
our
And
ability.
like 2.8 million freaking.
Parts
but
per million.
But they have a really really incredible way of smelling, and they do smell like they have two different glands that they smell with that really gets. But they can almost tell you, if they ate a cheeseburger, they could tell you what kind of mustard was on it.
So my theory was, take a cell phone case, right? So there's plastic in this. What's plastic derived of?
Petroleum.
So with their molecular level of smelling, regardless if it's scent free or this or that,
we had torrential downpours and major storms.
No matter how much rain hit that, cleaned it, this, that, and the other, that petroleum's still in there, and they could deep rooted smell that. That's my theory. I feel like
you might say that. So this particular camera has a power mag battery pack. It doesn't have batteries. It has the lithium pack. So is it the lithium pack generating heat or some kind of signature?
Or is it hearing the actual camera?
Or the camera
running,
making a sound?
Yeah.
But the deer's up there. The video is already running. It's already having a video taken of it as it's at the camera. So no new sound should have been introduced during that video.
Well, it could be in record mode, so it could be trying to focus.
Which I've never
all that.
Heard it myself, but I'm a deaf son of a bitch.
But they have ears that are that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, but it looked like more of a nose thing because her ears didn't go when she did that. But it goes back to
I want to know what these guys.
Yeah,
think.
Tell us what you think about this.
Think about this.
There's somebody that actually knows. We're not smart enough to know. But
I'm big dummy.
And I said to Dan, this is why all my cameras. The only reason I have this camera at that height because every other camera I have out is an elevated position. And I don't have that. And I have an elevated position because over the last 5 years, I've lost like 10 cameras to bears.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right number, but it's in there. But it's actually very close. So bears at any camera that's been down low, and even cameras that have been elevated, bears have climbed up the trees and got. So what is attracting the bear to it? So the bear and deer, what is common with them? Both of them have incredible sense of smell. The bear's better than the deer.
Yeah.
So
a bear's nose is definitely better than a deer's.
Yes, way better.
Yes.
And so
smell blood from 7 miles away.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so is it the smell or is it some other signature coming off of it?
I want to know. I'm curious as hell. Cause it's like again, for me, it's the product is made from. For you, it's multiple. Yeah, it's a good debate. Really, it really is. It's like, will we ever know though? Will we ever find out?
So that Guard Pro camera that they had me testing,
Yeah,
the company named Guard Pro, it's a Chinese company.
China.
All the cameras are made in China. Don't kid yourself. But anyway, they gave me this camera, and it just feels like a tank. It is just a real solid piece.
Yeah.
And the video and the the quick responsiveness of it, the trigger on it, the pictures have been fantastic. The sound, that one video I sent to you guys, the deer was eating acorns.
Yeah, the crunching.
And he was sitting there crunching acorns in the video of this on the trail cam.
Is that the same one that you could hear the turkey gobbling in the background? That was cool. I was like, did you guys hear that turkey gobble in the background? Like
and the deer's ears are facing forward, and it's sitting there listening to this turkey gobble, and it's chewing on acorns, and you're hearing everything.
It's pretty cool.
And a great HD video too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my first thoughts on the camera was, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, it's just gonna be like those other Chinese cameras that I got. It's not gonna be that great, but its connectivity, because it's a multi-network, and has been fantastic. And honestly, it's performed better than the Moultrie.
No, don't say it. Say it ain't so.
The Moultrie's delay. So, for example, both of the connections ratings are fairly the same, like 2 bars.
Yeah.
Right. I can still, if I request an HD video or an HD picture from that Guard Pro, it's almost instantaneous, and it has what's called a live feature, which means I can hit that I want to see what's in that spot right now.
Yeah.
And I actually tested it when I was actually at the camera.
And then you can actually
I tested it, I was watching myself on the camera live. So that's a great feature of it. But the quickness with that, with Moultrie, sometimes I'm waiting a whole day till I get the picture or video. Depending.
It does have a lag. I'm not gonna that would agitate me sometimes when I wanted to see a video. Yeah. There is a lag.
The Tacticam is also faster with it.
The Tacticam. You shouldn't say this stuff to me because
I know
I really like my Moultrie.
I love my Moultrie cameras. It's not. I'm not saying because they are tough. They do a great job.
Man.
And all these cameras I've had out, we just had.
I'm so sorry.
If you're in the U.S., you know the flooding that's going on and everything that we just had. The storms that came through here were torrential downpours. I'm talking torrential downpours. And the only thing that knocked one of my cameras off was a crow or a raven, whatever it was, that was actually landed on the camera. And I have it on one of those mounts. There's mobile mounts on the tree that can go left, right, up, and down, and landed on there. And then this is this is something I want to talk about. We talked about the fact that, and Jevin had said this, every time I put a trail camera out, right, almost every single time, that day, deer on it, almost every time.
And it happened with his camera too.
That evening, or at least the next morning, every time happened to him.
Sons of guns,
right? So they're curious. Well, here, this camera I had, all these ravens on the ground, crows, I'm sorry, whatever they were.
They were big like ravens.
And they're on the ground in front of the camera. One comes swooping off the camera and dives down at the other birds, and they all fly away, whatever. And so the very next morning, this doe's there sniffing the area.
Where the ravens were.
Right where the ravens were. It's
you think they don't know?
It's a curiosity thing. They're smelling that and coming in. And I said, here's the test for us. Let's all go to our hunting spots the day before opener.
Put a camera in.
Day before opener. and then go to the spot to hunt the next morning.
They'll be there. New strategy.
Yeah.
It's a great
That's the way to do it. It's worth the shot once. You can do anything once.
I'll try anything. Yeah. I'm not scared.
They either show up or they don't,
I thought, off subject to the camera now, though, but I thought it was a good little debate we had going. Not a debate, but discussion was about broadheads. And, the ability to, so let's say you're also a crossbow hunter. Like there's different applications where I'll use my crossbow and my compound. And it's like in a blind or this or that. So you kind of want to get a broadhead that, because they're so freaking expensive, that that'll span your crossbow and your compound. But certain mechanicals,
Can you hear all that tapping around? My dog's upstairs. He must be getting a treat because he's going nuts right now.
so it's almost like you got like mice, like you're running across there.
There's a little tap, tap, tap going.
So you're talking about being able to use the same broadhead with both of your weapons. Okay. So for me, that's why I went to a fixed broadhead, because of the speed out of the crossbow is so much greater than out of my compound. What is going to be able to handle that? So his question was, I have these rages. He's the same as me. He's going to use compound and crossbow. He's like, I have these rages. Can I use them in my crossbow? The ones he had for his compound. And I said no, because rage makes their 2-blade or 3-blade, whatever, which ones you're getting, the collar's different. Like it's a stronger collar because of the greater speed. Now, if you would use that in your compound, you have a chance of it not deploying correctly, and you could ultimately lose that animal and just wound it, and
Absolutely,
or it not get a good shot. It's not ethical.
So I did research this a little bit after the conversation, and I mean, what I had said to you guys originally is pretty much what you just said. The ferrule, when you upgrade to a crossbow broadhead, a crossbow broadhead has a stronger ferrule to build up to make up for the tolerances, because most crossbow bolts, the arrow for it, are going to be heavy. They're going to be a heavier one, so you're going to need something that can handle the tolerances. Now, with a mechanical like a rage that's going to deploy, it's going to deploy those blades. What they make it is so with the crossbow, because of the higher speeds, that they don't deploy as fast. Right. So it's harder to make them to deploy. So they need that harder punch from that speed. They won't open up as easily as they would for the one they have on the compound. Now, this is less important when you're talking about a fixed blade broadhead.
Right. And that's like
a fixed blade. It's really, and I've honestly done it. I killed deer when I was using my compound before with my shoulder, which hopefully my shoulder's not jacked up again. But, I used compound bow fixed blade broadheads with my compound, or with my crossbow, and they did just fine.
Right.
But so that's the thing with it. It's mainly where I'd be concerned with that is, one, like you said, if it fits correctly. One, and two, if it's going to open properly. I'd worry about a mechanical way more than I would ever worry about it with a fixed blade.
And he said something too about his theory. Go ahead.
Didn't we talk about this more than I, because you tested it a bunch with your Raven, talking about the different broadheads that plane out with a crossbow versus when you're talking about fixed blades. What did you use that it was making your arrows go off?
That was the Magnus, the longer ones.
The longer ones.
Not the Black Hornet. The Black Hornet dialed it right back in. And it was the Hornet. Is that
Black Hornets?
No. I'm sorry.
But not Buzzcut.
I forget. But they're longer. They look more traditional.
They're from Magnus.
Yeah, it's from Magnus, but they look more traditional, kind of like something that would be on a Native American's like arrow. But they were a little more erratic, and it would just
plane out. It would
plane out, and so once I went to a shorter style broadhead, that changed everything with that greater speed with a fixed broadhead.
Which in the one article I read, it said that if you look, you will find that a lot of the versions, like say Muzzy, for instance, has broadheads specifically for your compound, but then they had the same name version of that Muzzy broadhead for crossbow. That you will find that broadhead might be more compact and not as big. might have the same blade length, but it might be shorter. The ferrule might be shorter.
Right. Like
to kind of offset that planing thing of the higher speeds of the crossbow.
so for me, like the Black Hornets, it actually says in the packaging for compound and crossbow, and like the Slick Tricks, compound and crossbow. Now, if you go to
The Magnus,
like a G5, you know, like the Montec, there's two different versions of that.
Yes.
One's for compound, one's for crossbow.
That's what I was thinking of.
It's two total. Yes. So, by the way, G5 Montec, great broadhead,
Used it for years.
dude.
Yeah.
Wonderful broadhead.
Yep.
So
So the Trocar.
yeah. So yeah, it's just a good, you know. And then Jevin brought up, he's like, I kind of have a theory. I feel like you'll get less deflection into the animal from a rear deploying mechanical versus a front deploying mechanical. When he said that, I was like, damn, dude, I think you're onto something.
He might be right with
He
that.
might be right with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't know because I won't use a mechanic.
No, and I'm fixed head from here on out, but
And the
I think
reason
he's
why,
onto something.
if you haven't heard podcasts before, we have said this a long time ago, I think. The reason why, for me, and I'll let you give your answer, Dan, the reason why I only shoot fixed blade broadheads is because of the unknown. I don't know. We hunt in thick woods a lot, and there's that. And you had it. You experienced it. You have
sure
a
did.
twig,
Yeah.
a piece of grass, or whatever
The unseen.
that deflects on a mechanical, and suddenly you have a blade deployed, and now your arrow's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And now you have a fixed blade, and I have a bunch of grass that's thin. I'm not afraid to shoot through it.
Yeah.
Right. I don't necessarily want to shoot through.
Right.
but I might take that shot. Whereas a mechanical, I would never take a shot through to anything that's going to deploy that. So I use a fixed blade to minimize deflection issues and maximize and you also get, I mean, a lot of the mechanicals fly like field points better.
They do fly better.
A lot of them fly better.
Yeah.
But the broadheads I've been shooting have shot great, and I have no problems.
At more of a distance, the mechanicals are going to fly better at like 40 to 60 yards.
Yeah.
Where your fixed heads really tail off. They really do. They really dive out on you at those distances, which is fine because you really should only be in 40 yards and in anyway. But for whitetail, you know. Now, my reasoning was very, very similar to yours, but it was part two of it. A lot of it was the deflection. I experienced that with them rage, with that 8-point I got, and I feel like I got lucky because I hit it right where I should, but where it ended up was way back in its spine, back by its pelvis, and got stuck up in the spine. I mean, I got awesome penetration that I had to use pliers to get it out of that spinal column.
Yeah, I remember
in the rear of that deer. But I didn't like how it deflected so much. So, okay, so I want to eliminate that. But the main issue is there's so much going on in archery, especially with a compound. There's so much human element, human factors. Why not take one thing out of that? Like, why not take one factor out of that one less thing that can screw up your hunt? That's where I'm at. It's like eliminating problems. You know,
I say this all the time. I'm looking at all the little things, right? And if you look at all the little things and you optimize for all those little things, it's like scent control. Can a deer smell you? Even if you could take all the scent control measures in the world, a deer can still smell you.
Right.
There's nothing that's going to make you scent free.
Yeah.
Nothing. But unless you're in an encapsulated suit. But the only other thing with that is but
and then something on that suit's probably made of petroleum, and they can smell that. Yeah. Right back around.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But the difference is, if you go into the woods reeking from drinking and having that massive alcohol and shit smell coming off of you out of your throat, and you didn't
smoking cigars,
you didn't bath or anything, you smell like this garlic sandwich you had. You know, there's a difference between walking in the woods like that with a big signature. I call it minimizing your signature. It's all those little things, like you said, Dan. You do those little things to compensate, maximize your chances. It's not saying that you're going to, you're going to beat a deer's nose. You're still going to hunt the wind as much as you can in the swirling wind mecca of the mountains that we hunt.
The best way to beat a deer's nose is play the wind.
Play the wind.
Yeah,
100%.
It's as simple as
100%. So
we covered a lot. So
there was a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, it was good though. It was good.
I think it was probably the best podcast we've ever done.
I want I want to know what everybody else thinks in the comment section about the smelling of the trail cams. I really do. I'm curious. And the broadheads. If you're shooting mechanicals, rear deploying versus front deploying with deflection, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and tell me, are you shooting a crap sight, or do you have one that does the axis and didn't realize it, and now you're going to go out and take care of that?
Did not your balls drop yet?
Yes.
Time to grow up. No,
we all know it's a price thing. Heck, buy it secondhand on eBay, like he said.
Like I would have never bought that sight if it was full price. Let's be honest here. With the sight that I really didn't like, with the way the pins were set up, I was shooting amazing with. I'm not going to deny it, but I just wanted something there. There's
tons of Facebook groups where people sell stuff like that. Facebook Marketplace. But I mean, it doesn't. You say, oh, that site's $250. I'm not buying that. You don't have to pay that price.
You don't. You'll find it somewhere else for a lot.
Somewhere else, yeah. But yeah, so. Give us your comments on that.
Spring Gobbler, let's go. So we should be getting one out right before Spring Gobbler. So
yeah, so we have some stuff for that coming.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for that one. So anyway, guys, another podcast in the books.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time. Hey, this is Mike once again. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you want even more content from the Everyday Bowhunter, I invite you to go over to everydaybowhunter.com or archeryhunting.com. It's the same website for the Everyday Bowhunter. In addition, if you haven't subscribed, go to our YouTube channel. We have a lot more than the podcast there. Have more video coming every day, a lot more content. In addition, if you go over on your podcast channels, if you're already there, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, please give us a 5-star review. Give us a follow. We really appreciate it. In addition, if you see an Everyday Bowhunter shirt like this, go ahead, go to the website, go to YouTube, click on it, buy one of our shirts. Every little bit helps. We're not sponsored by anybody. In addition, in our descriptions and our show notes, we highlight products that we use and buy that we love. Now, every time you click on one of those links, we get a small commission. It really helps us out. Like I said, we're not sponsored by anyone. You're our sponsor. So with your support, we can make this channel even better. I appreciate it. And until then, I will see you next time.